Hi everyone, my name is Jen and this is Besides the Plants, where we talk about things houseplant and home design. Welcome back. So this video is titled Top 5 Things That You Can Buy That Will Up Your Plant Parenthood Game. So this is kind of like a follow-up to a video I did last week, which was called my top 5 plant essentials, I think, or something like that, where I went over the top 5 things that I cannot live without. So this list is kind of different. These are things that I can probably live without, but it has really brought my plant game up. These are things that I love and enjoy and use every single day, that I've noticed a noticeable difference in how my plants are, whether or not they're growing better or something like that. So yeah, let's get into the list. Okay, so the very first thing on this list is my Scentsy Grow Bulb. So I have a ton of these. I have 3 Scentsy Grow Bulbs at this point. I have this one right here, right there. I have one that's screwed into a like standing lamp over here, just off camera this way, and I have one in my bedroom that's also hung up like a pendant. These are my favorite grow lights. I have a lot of grow lights. I have a lot of different varieties of grow lights, including these strip ones right here underneath my shelf, and the Scentsy bulb is still my favorite. Couple reasons why I love them. First, I feel like I notice the most difference in how my plant grows with these Scentsy Grow Bulbs compared to the LED strip lights. My plants do like the LED strip lights, don't get me wrong, and I do recommend them. But I feel like if you don't have any grow lights at all in your home, I would start with the Scentsy Grow Bulb. I feel like, first, I've never noticed any burning or anything like that from the Scentsy Grow Bulb, and I have my plants relatively close to it. So this is about less than 12 inches away from my plants. I've never noticed any burning at all with the Scentsy Grow Bulb. The second reason I love them so much is the color of the grow bulbs. They are very white. They don't lean too cool. They don't lean too warm. They are a very, very neutral white. With my strip lights, these ones are really, really yellow. Like really yellow. The old ones I used to have are really, really blue. The Scentsy ones are perfect. They are super, super neutral, very easy on the eyes, and great for your plants. So my room is really dark. That's why I have so many grow lights everywhere, and those are absolutely my favorite. I recommend them all the time. They're also really easy to use. You can screw them into any lamp. You can get like the clamps, like the clamp lamps from IKEA. I screwed into that. I have one in my standing lampshade thing, and it works there, or you can make them into pendant lights. So highly recommend the Scentsy Grow Bulb. The next on this list is a heat mat. So my heat mat isn't plugged in right now because it's very warm here in California still. But this for the winter is a must. This is what it looks like. And you can see that there are some of these like rods back here that are inside. Those are kind of like the heating conduits. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's kind of what keeps this mat warm. It just plugs in. It's super thin, and my plants love this in the winter time, so I mostly use it for propagating. This past winter, all of my propagations were doing absolutely nothing. I just sat for months and months, so I finally caved and got this heat mat. It was, I think, $15 on Amazon. I'll make sure to link it. And within like days, all of my propagations started taking off. I saw so many more roots. It's really, really awesome. Obviously, if you live in like a really hot place like California, I wouldn't use this in the summertime because you don't want to accidentally like cook your plants, because you know it is quite warm, and if it's already warm on the outside, then you know you don't want to like double it up. So, but in the winter time, I'm definitely going to make space for this somewhere in this room because I love it. Can't live without it. Highly recommend. You can also, I've seen other people put this underneath their prop boxes. So if you like to propagate via like the big boxes that you just throw stuff in, I would recommend getting one of these for your prop boxes as well. So yeah, heat mats. Okay, so hi guys, sorry I'm interrupting your normal programming of this video. I had already filmed the entire video that you're currently watching, and then I realized I had a better recommendation, and so I want to talk about this thing instead of the thing I was originally going to talk about, and I didn't really want to refilm the whole video, so let's just pretend that this isn't a complete change in scenery. Okay, so the thing I wanted to recommend for number 3 is that you get a pH testing kit and some pH, adjusting liquids. So I, as you know, kind of went on this big going soilless, trying out LECA, etc., and I've been loving that. And usually when you have plants in LECA, people tell you it's really important to pH your water, and for a while I just kind of did it because people told me it was important, and I never really looked into why it's important, but I wanted to kind of learn a little bit more about that and kind of understand a little bit more. So I started looking into why pH matters, and I've actually learned that pH is also important for your soil plants as well. So let's talk about it. Okay, so from what I've learned so far is that pH is really important because pH affects first how the bacteria in your soil, how they kind of work. So there is kind of a sweet spot of pH where it's really easy for all the organic materials in your soil to decompose to then release nitrogen, which is an important kind of component that your plant needs. Nitrogen is, one of the main things that's in fertilizer. It's the N in NPK. It's also really, really important because at certain pH levels, some chemicals released can be A, toxic to plants, and B, make your soil or your medium decompose really, really quickly, which is obviously not ideal for your plants, because obviously if your medium is decomposed, it's not giving your plants any nutrients that it needs, and also that means you need to replace your soil much more often, so you would need to repot your plants more often than you normally do. And also third, if your pH is off, sometimes it can also cause nutrient lockout. And I spoke about nutrient lockout in my LECA flush video, because the way I learned it was that nutrient lockout can happen if you give your plants too much fertilizer, and so therefore it can't properly absorb the nutrients you're giving it. But I've also learned that nutrient lockout can happen when you mix fertilizers from different plants, if you mix fertilizers from different companies that are not formulated to go together, just chemistry can happen, and that can cause nutrient lockout. And 2, nutrient lockout can also be caused by your pH of your soil being so way off that it affects the chemical structure or the soil structure. I think it's the soil structure. It affects the soil structure, I believe. So then it can cause nutrient lockout. I'm sorry that's not terribly scientific of me. As I mentioned, this is kind of new to me to be so technical with my plants, but that's the purposes of this video, right? Is that I'm trying to recommend things to you that would help you get a better grasp on how to take care of your plants. So with that being said, so for the past few weeks, I've started pHing the water for my soil plants as well as for my LECA plants. Obviously, I've been pHing the water for my LECA plants for, since I transferred them into LECA. But when I just use a watering can, you saw this watering can, I think, in my last video. A couple of you asked about it. I'll make sure to link in the description for you. It's from Amazon. When I'm watering with a watering can, I make sure to pH this water as well. Most tap water will be too basic or too alkaline. Those are two different words that mean two different things, but basically most waters will be too high. The pH of the waters from your tap will be too high, and therefore you will need to bring it down with pH down, which is an acid. So obviously you don't want to mess around with acids. Be really careful with this with your skin because it's an acid. The one I use is from General Hydroponics because that's the one that I've seen a lot of different people use, and I've never had a adverse reaction to the General Hydroponics stuff. There are obviously a lot of different brands, and I'm sure there are a lot of different brands that have great products, and different brands will use different types of acids to acidify the water. And you do this is a situation where like you probably do want to be a little bit picky about which brand you're buying your pHing stuff from, because you can also really harm your plants if, you know, for some reason the acid that they use is not good for your plants. So for most tap water you will want pH down, but for me actually I found that the nutrients I use for my LECA plants is quite acidic, so oftentimes I will actually need to use pH up to get my water into that optimal level. I didn't really talk about it. So the optimal level is around a 5.5 to a 6.5 generally, and for LECA plants it's actually a little bit of a narrower window than that, but generally you want to aim for between like a 5.5 to 6.5. I usually try to aim for a 6. The testing kit I use is the one with like the colors, so you can't really necessarily be too exact with that. You can also get a pH meter, so it's like a stick that you stick into the water, and it's a digital reader, and it'll tell you what the pH is. So with that one obviously you can be extremely exact with what the pH of your water is. I'll try to link like more resources about pH and plants down in the description. If I forget, you can remind me in the comments and then I'll put some in, just because obviously I'm kind of new to this pH thing, so I don't want to accidentally give you wrong information. So yeah, that is my recommendation for number 3. Let's go back to the original video now. Okay, so number 4 on this list has to go to my humidifier. So my favorite humidifier is the Lavoie one, because it's the one I have. I know there are other humidifiers that are like trending right now, and I don't have this, so I can't talk about them, but I do have this one, so I can talk about it. I really like it. My one pet peeve about this humidifier is that it is a bottom fill humidifier, which just means that you have to take it off the humidifier, like off the base, to refill it, which can get a little bit annoying. But other than that, I really love this humidifier because you can set exactly what humidity level you want. So usually I have mine set for either 65 or 70, and then so it'll pump out humidity until it senses that it has reached 65 or 70 or whatever I set it to, and then it'll stop, and then it won't pump out more humidity until it senses that the humidity level has dropped. This means that for me, I refill my humidifier less than once a week, which is like freaking amazing. I really, you know, it's heavy to refill the humidifier, so I don't really like to do it a lot. And this way my plants are happy because the humidity level is up, and I don't have to put in a lot of work to make that happen. So I really like this humidifier. I do have some other ones. I'll make sure to link the alternatives because this one can be a little bit pricey, down in the description below. I have a smaller one that's from a different brand that I also like, but that one I do have to refill quite often because it's smaller, and it also doesn't have the function where you can set the humidity level, so you have to manually do that. But I do really like that one as well. If you're talking about humidifiers, I think it's also worth mentioning one of these things. So this is a humidity gauge. So as you can see, it's 71% humid in this area right now, which is very close to my humidifier, and it's also 71 degrees in this room right now, which is good. So these allow you to see how humid your area is. I have a bunch of these. These are really good. I also really like this specific brand because it can withstand a lot of humidity. Some humidity gauges actually can't withstand a lot of humidity and they break once they reach a certain point. When I used to have that indoor greenhouse, I had this in there, and the humidity in that greenhouse oftentimes would be like 95 or even like 100% at some point. Hasn't broken on me yet. I do find that it is quite reliable. I've tried other brands that are like completely off, but this one seems to be pretty reliable. It matches up to the humidifier that I have. It matches up to other kind of like gauges that I have, so I think this one is pretty accurate, and it's quite inexpensive. I believe one of these things is like $8 or something like that, so it's not that expensive and it works. So the very last thing I want to talk about on this list is something that's actually quite new to me. This is a light meter. So I read Houseplant Journal's book, and it really, first of all, highly recommend that book. You should definitely go check it out. I'll make sure to link it in the description below. I got the ebook of it, and it was really great. It really changed my philosophy on how I viewed like how healthy a plant is. Anyways, it's really good. I highly recommend you check it out. But he also talks about a light meter. So this is a way that you can analyze how much light your plants are getting in a very like quantitative way. There's also an app that you can get. I don't have the app, I just bought this, so I can't recommend the app, but I can absolutely recommend this. So if you check out his website, he has a list on there of a bunch of different types of common plants, like common as in like plants that you're likely to have, and how much light they require, measured in foot candles, how much they need to just survive and how much they need to thrive. And I've always felt that this room was too dark. But other people would tell me that no, like your room is pretty bright because that's an east facing window. And I've always been like, no, this room is really dark. So I've got one of these to find out, and I was right. My room is really dark. In some corners of my room, it doesn't even measure 1 foot candle. So it's like pitch black. It's really dark. Obviously lighting changes throughout the day. So if I have an east facing window, so the light in here is actually best in the morning time, and then afternoon, like, you know, the lighting in here changes directions, and so I don't really have any light at all. This is super easy to use. So if you are getting this exact one that I got, there is a battery panel in the back. You have to take off this orange rubber thing to access it, but then you just pop that open and then they put batteries in, and then you turn on power, and then you have to change it so it measures in lux and foot candles. So you have to change it so that it measures in FC, which is foot candles. And then I'm just going to change the percentage so that it's whole numbers immediately and not like, you know, rounded to a power of 10. And then this is how the light is sensed. So these are my filming lights right here. So I'm moving closer to my filming lights and you can see the number went up. Now I'm pulling away from my filming lights and you see the number really went down. For most plants, like common plants, I would say that they need at least a minimum of 100 foot candles according to his list in order to just survive, and then ranging depending on the plant from 200 to 400 in order to thrive. I've checked the grow lights I have. Let's change the foot candles, okay, so like my Sansi grow bulb down here, this is 467. This is closer, this is like 500, this is closer to the bulb, this is over 500, so yeah. And then you bring it all the way closer up here, it's like, you know, like 1,000, more than 1,000, but you definitely don't want your plants like that close. These strip lights, So I'm measuring it right here. This is like 700 and something, and then down to where some of these other plants are, this is just over 100 because this is the you can't see what I'm measuring. Anyways, so this is like a gap between the lights right here. This is about 100 for plants that maybe are more sensitive to burning, and then here closer to the light, this is like in the 700s right here. So this has been really fun for me to walk around the house in different times of the day to measure how much light my plants are getting, to ensure that they will thrive. So if you want to make sure that your plants are getting enough light, or you just like are really interested in learning about how light affects plants, I would highly recommend you get one of these things. It's kind of fun. So yeah, so those are all of the things I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.